So we call it network load balancer, then service. So these are the things which I want to teach you. So how do we do the CRUD? Okay, so simple, I'll show you this. So if you look at my screen, QCTL, you get nodes. I have two nodes, get NS is a shortcut for namespace. So I have these many namespace already created. So how come this namespace is created? So Kubernetes, when you set up a cluster, this namespace will be there automatically. By the way, this namespace which you see, I created it. This were there earlier. Okay, so this I created. So you can create a more namespace. All the Kubernetes related pod is running in this namespace. Let me show you. -n means namespace is equal to this one. See, these all are Kubernetes related pods which you have. So can I do the CRUD with a namespace? So let me do that. So kubectl create ns. See this pattern you have to follow. Create, get, describe, edit, apply, delete, and also apply. So create ns. What is the name of the ns? So Rajesh. You see here, kubectl get ns. Now I created. Now I will do get I did. I will describe this ns. So this is the pattern actually. Any resources which you can use it. See here. Now finally I will do the edit. So how do we do the edit? So for that, edit ns Rajesh, and here for time being till you get comfortable, play with the labels 1 2 3 4 team QA. I just added the labels and describe this. See here, team QA. And finally, how do we delete it? See that here, delete. So this I am doing through the command line. That's all. This is so simple. So your primary objective is to know what are the resources which you have available for you. Are you understanding, all of you?
Yeah, my question is, with this, does it? I know like it has different functionality, different commands and stuff. My question is there like a huge difference between this and Docker containers?
So here, remember that uh, in Kubernetes, which we deploy the pod, correct? Which is the next, I'll deploy the pod. And pod, you have a container. Container come from the Docker. So if you remember that last session, we have a pod which you deploy using Kubernetes that comes from that has a container. A container come from the Docker. Pod is created by kubelet. So Docker manages the container. Kubernetes manages the pod. Okay, so that is a way you can define. So if you want to run an application, you can run an application in a container. But if you want to bring the container at the larger scale, then we need a Kubernetes and we need to run that container in a pod. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay, I get it.
So
And
that's the
Rajesh, in a
reason.
single pod, can we create many containers?
Yeah, you can have many containers. Pod is nothing but a logical unit. Pod means it's like a labeling kind of it. So as many containers you can run in a pod.
Okay.
But pod get IP address. Remember that. Pod
Okay.
get
And
IP address.
okay.
Container do not get. So let's say 5 containers you have in one pod.
Mhm.
So pod has one IP address. So all containers will share the same IP address.
Okay.
Just like 5 users you run in a laptop, they still have the same IP address, right?
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Same way. Okay, so that is something which I did correct. Now, next, what you want? I want pod. So, how do you want? This time I'll show you through the YAML file. CRUD. CRUD, every resources you will do the CRUD. Okay, now you know that in last session we discussed what is a pod. So now I'm going to create a pod. So how do we do that? So Kubernetes, that's right. You can download from the Google also. Kubernetes pods. And here some examples of code is there. So this is one example. Any examples you can take it, that's not a problem. So this is a pod YAML file. What do you want? Pod kind is equal to pod. What is the name of the pod? I'll just name it Rajesh only. And labeled with this one. This pod have a containers. How many containers? Only one. So this is coming from the image, this one, 80 port and this one. That's all. So what to do? Nothing great. Let me create a vi pod.yaml. File name can be anything.
Rajesh, only that image one should be the Docker image.
Yeah, this image is a Docker image only. What I did, I modify the Nginx image, replace the index.html, push it back to the Docker hub. And that's my own image actually.
Okay.
It's Nginx only. Okay, so now this is the pod.yaml. What to do? CRUD. So let me create get pods. How many pods I am having in a default namespace? Uh,
One.
0. You
Sure.
0, nothing is there. Now if you want to work with a different namespace, let's say office namespace, so I have one pod running. This I did not run today. I think it was some demo last week. So I created this pod in office n. So if you use -n is equal to this one, so those resources will be created in that namespace. Remember that. So this is the pattern. Okay, this is the pattern. Yeah. So if you want to create any in a different namespace, you have to use this one. So remember that this is a hard code statement. If you want to work with create, read, update, and delete CRUD, then you have to use this -n for different. But if you want to use with a default namespace, then no need to provide this one. So I'm okay working the default namespace, but you can also use this one to work in a different namespace. So in a default, I don't have any pod. So let me create it. Kubectl create -f pod1.yaml. Oh, there's a kubectl create -f of pod YAML. Now here you see that created a pod in default. This is creating and named with Rajesh. Okay, so just wait for a few seconds. The pod will be created. So now I created it. Can I read it and describe it? So read it and describe it. So describe pod Rajesh. And you see that pod container, you see that here. Look at this very carefully. These are the containers. Okay, and this is the pod IP address. Just go through all the details in with little slow and we'll get it pod. So my pod is running right now. You see that here. Okay, so what to do? I want to edit the pod. So here I did the create, get, describe, edit. So what to do? I can edit command also use, which I use in the namespace, but I'm showing you the YAML file, right? So modify the YAML file, pod.yaml, and modify the labels right now till you get comfortable, play with the labels. And this is a team, DevOps, school, and done. It's a YAML file, remember that, don't play with the spacing issues. -f pod.yaml apply, and you see here applied happened. Describe the pod, and you see that top somewhere we are label This is added. So this is the way I can create a pod, read a pod, update the pod. And after that, finally, bye bye. So this pod has to go. So what to do? Delete -f pod.yaml and pod got deleted. So this time I showed you complete YAML operations. So did you understand that any resources for the sake of it, you'll have to do the CRUD. The only thing which you need to know what exactly that resources are, and this formula will work for you. Are you able to understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'll teach you some of this command which will help you to troubleshoot and be expert in the more better way. So which command I'm trying to teach you? So this command. Okay, so this command. So let me do that. So I need a one pod to be created. So let me create one pod again. Apply. Apply will create and update both it will do. Okay. I created one pod. You see that in front of you. So what to do? So there's some shortcut actually pod -o wide. You'll get the IP address of pod where it's working and running and all. And -hyphen show labels. Many options are there. Okay. So if you don't know anything about like this, don't try to Google it because this document itself is very powerful. See here, -h, you remember that. Any commands -h, and this is how you should practice it. It'll go slow, each and everything you have it practice. -h, you remember, and you can go up to the any command depth, and they'll give you lots of examples and more explanation. So you don't need to Google it actually. Okay, so I have a pod. So what to do? So I want to see the logs of the container of the pod. Remember, the pod is not a physical entity. It cannot produce the logs, but container it is. It running your application. So kubectl logs and logs, right? Yeah, logs and this one. See, nothing is there. But can I use this pod? So how do I do that? IP address. So this is the pod IP address call. I know this container is running on 80 port, so hitting the pod IP address and done. Now, unfortunately, uh, this is not coming, but this will come. In your case, it will come. For me, it will not. It is not coming, and the reason is the network issues. Network table has been spoiled actually. So in this machine I will not running, but 4, right? Let me run in the worker itself. There it will run. So it's not a, you will not have this problem if IP is fixed. Remember that there is a hard statement. Whenever you set up a clusters, it attached to certain IPs and configuration. If that configuration gets changed, your Kubernetes will not work. That is a problem. So you have to be careful actually.
Um,
So so
what command would you use to check if Kubernetes cluster or Kubernetes is running on the command line?
this command qctl mm, cluster info. So this is the command which will give you whether it's running and connecting from the workstation or not. But simply I have a habit of doing this one. Okay,
And what do you look out for? When it says it's status ready
ready,
means
ready,
it's
ready means
working.
work. Yes, yes. Ready
And
means this is also
oh, okay.
control
So
plane is running.
if it's not running, what will be the status? Not running or inactive?
Pending or something like that will be there. Not ready, something like that.
Okay. And if you have to restart it,
No
well, is the
problem.
same command?
You can restart the VM site. Okay, because it's a pod, ultimately container. So the moment you there's no stop and restart concept.
Okay.
The moment you shut it down, it will get shut down. The moment you start this, all this thing will get.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.